All right, back at it, folks. We left off with Roman numeral 3, Empress Shub-Niggurath, Venus. We got through everything except for, we'll just go back over the upright and inverted stuff real quick because it got cut off. Upright, fertility, vitality, excess of passion, wildness, unchecked enthusiasm, strong growth, good health, the womb of nature, pregnancy, new life, maternal instincts, a sensual woman. Inverted, frenzy, lustfulness, boundaries exceeded, generative excess, mutation, deformity, obsession with flesh, unhealthy growth, possible disease, a kind of stillbirth or abortion that arose from excess. So that last one, a kind of stillbirth or abortion that arose from excess, got cut off from the last one. Okay, I might as well start showing the pictures of all this shit too. Just go over them real quick. I'll do it. Okay, you got 0, Azathoth, the Fool, element of air. There's a picture of the card. Number 1, the Magician, Nyarlathotep, Mercury. Number 3, Empress Shub-Niggurath, Venus. Okay, and now we're at number 4, Emperor Amun, A-M-U-N, and then Aries in parentheses. And that's what this guy looks like. Go to the description. Oh shit. Okay. Number 4, Emperor Amun, Aries. Within the embroidered and beaded curtains of the sanctuary, at the heart of the great temple at Karnak, stands the bronze statue of the god Amun, man-sized and naked, his body sheathed in gold leaf so that his well-muscled limbs glow in the flames of the lamps. At the sides of his head curl the horns of the ram, but in every other respect, his is human. The lifelike figure seems to wait knowingly for the embrace of one of his youthful priestesses, who will soon enter the sanctuary and wrap herself around the statue, her head thrown back in ecstasy as she strives to press within her body his enormous erect phallus. The look of lustful madness that will distort her beautiful Egyptian face makes a strange contrast to the serene and handsome countenance of the god. A halo of flickering torchlight clothes the body of the naked god. Wisps of steam rise from the gleaming bronze, revealing an inner heat that is awakened by lust. It is clear from its stance that the statue has been shaped for the embraces of its young priestesses. Its shadowed eyes are cunningly fashioned from bits of jet, lapis lazuli, and ivory, so that they appear alive and aware as they gaze deeply into the ecstatic face of the god's lover. Wow. All right. We got upright, virility, potency, impregnation, seminal idea, creative spark, first beginnings, masculine force, initial thrust, penetration, determined purpose, passionate man. Inverted, instability, false start, impractical idea, lack of foundation, wasted force, inertia, heaviness, rigidity of mind, lost opportunity, anxiety, failure to perform, impotence. All right. That was number 4, Emperor Amun, Aries. Okay, here we got number 5, Hierophant, Dagon, Taurus. Dagon, fish guy. Okay. Silvery scales cover the vast naked body of this ruler of the deep ones as he emerges from the ocean, bits of kelp clinging to his shining limbs. Like the amphibian he resembles, he appears to be sexless, but this is a deception, for his phallus only emerges during his couplings with Shub-Niggurath. He walks upright from the shallows, the weight of the great mass of his head, which is shaped like that of a dolphin and has no neck where it joins his broad shoulders, bowing him down so that his long arms hang almost to the surface of the waves. His fingers are elongated and webbed, even as are his toes that remain concealed by the sea as he takes an enormous stride forward. In the middle of his high forehead is set a single lidless eye, vast and round as the shield of a warrior. He has no ears, but only small holes where ears should be, and on the sides of his head, gill slits gape and gasp the night air, for he never ventures from the sea except at night. The glow from the moon plays strangely on his body, which is semi-transparent, as though composed of some jelly-like substance. His mouth is a broad slit. His voice when he speaks is deeper than the tolling of the greatest bell. He strides forward under moonlight in the shallows, newly emerged from the sea with its waters still streaming from his limbs. Calling out to his worshippers who dwell upon the land, approach and bring forth their offerings, for he can approach the shore no closer than the line of the lowest tide. Goddamn, tongue twisters. A nearby lighthouse, its size dwarfed by the mountainous body of the god, casts its golden beam across his head and shoulder, illuminating the full horror of his face that has no trace of humanity despite its humanoid body. Dagon returns his back upon the land where he can never walk or rule. The low tide line is an invisible barrier that restrains him. His children, the deep ones, emerge from the sea around his legs, their bodies more humanoid yet strangely similar to that of the god. Their dark shadows have an aura of menace that threatens the beach. Alright, we got upright, tradition, authority, religion, commandment, code of honor, duty, history, the past, weight of precedent, priest, minister, church, temple, morality, confession. Inverted, lack of honor, hollow observances, suppression, punishment, sin, inquisition, harsh judgment, onerous duty, required religious rites, lack of forgiveness. All right. Six, lovers, deep one and bride, Gemini. In the great hall of Dagon in Atlantis, an elder priest has just joined in marriage a young deep one and his human bride. The priest, who was still human, but in the advanced stages of transformation into a deep one that those who are of mixed blood always experience in the old age, stands upon the altar steps behind them. Long altar at his back, a holy book in his hands. His resplendent purple robe of office draped around his no longer quite human body. His vaguely frog-like face, tinged in a faint blue by the strangeness of his blood, gives him the pallor of a corpse. But corpses are not usually so moist and glistening by candlelight. This elder priest looks on with satisfaction as he finalizes the vows of the living couple. The lovers stand at the base of the altar steps, facing each other, holding hands. The bride is a beautiful young woman with dark hair and a pale complexion. In her gray eyes, there is a distant look, as though she is in a kind of trance. Yet her lips smile, and she gazes up into the eyes of her husband with love. She wears a traditional wedding gown of white and ornate, heavy silver jewelry studded with jewels, gifts from her new husband. Upon her head is an elaborate jeweled tiara, better adapted to fit the sloped skull of a great frog than a human head. The groom has little in his appearance that is human, save that he stands upright in the general position of a man, or the general posture of a man. His head is broad and frog-like, his skin blue, his eyes dark and gleaming, with his mouth a broad gash, with almost no lips, nor is any chin visible. But his head appears to run directly down into his deep chest without the need for a neck. Gill slits are faintly visible in the side where his neck should be. He wears a long black robe of formal design, trimmed with silver threads that cover his barrel chest and strangely stunted legs. He holds his bride's slender hand in blunt fingers that are webbed and show up the faintest hint of silver scales on their backs. Upon her finger glitters a costly gold ring set around its sides with diamonds, which he has just placed there. Its size and shape are not quite the same as a ring of human manufacture. His expression, as he looks deeply into her eyes, is commanding, possessive, and lustful. All right. Upright. Love, relationship, marriage, commitment, heartfelt pledge, union, amorous feelings, shared affection, loving partner, soulmate, trust, devotion, inverted, bad match, unhappy affair, false affection, betrayal, seduction, violent desire, adultery, divorce, separation, unrequited love, ill-fated partnership, broken vow. All right. Sweaty up in this bitch. All right, let's do another one. Let's see, that would be 7. Chariot, Beast of Babylon, in parentheses, Cancer. This is what it looks like. In size, the beast is like a horse, but its hind legs are longer than its front legs and more massive, so that when it stands on all fours, its hindquarters are above the level of its shoulders. All 4 of its feet are like the talons of a bird prey. Its long and slender tail is barbed on its tip and black, although scale-covered body of the beast is a kind of darkling reddish black, the color of dying embers. The leathern wings that it presently holds expanded on either side of its rigid spine in preparation for flight somewhat resemble the wings of a bat. The beast feeds itself through a gray beak beneath a cluster of its necks, in shape much like the beak of a hawk. When irritated, it lets out a shrill cry, but it is incapable of articulate speech. It is a curious feature of the beast that it has not 1 head, but 7, or rather, no head at all, since each of its 7 heads grows upon a long neck and forms itself in the span of a few minutes, then quickly melts away and is replaced by another head. All of the multitude of forming and dissolving heads are human, their pattern taken from the various human prey that the beast has consumed over the millennia, and indeed the head of every man, woman, or child it has ever eaten forms upon itself upon one of its 7 necks from time to time. Although the heads come forth more often, some heads come forth more often than others, particularly the small yellow-skinned bald head of Balaka, a necromancer of the East that the beast ate long ago. Poor Balaka has bad teeth and is troubled by toothache. He is renowned as the wisest head of Babylon, and the beast is both his prison and his kingdom. For although he can never leave it or control its doings, he has more freedom than any other head to shape himself periodically on one or another of those 7 snake-like necks. When dusk falls, the beast leaves the sewers beneath the ruins of Babylon through a pit in the ground to hunt its human prey. It stands in the final glow from the western sky, its wings spread and expanding with blood to the great size that will bear it in flight. The creature is highlighted against the red sunset amid the fallen stones of the ancient city, standing beside a pillar broken into 3 parts. A pillar broken into 3 parts that lies close to the pit from which it has just emerged. All of the 7 heads are excited at the time of twilight, just before it launches itself into the sky. They shout and weep and laugh, except for the head of Balaka, which stares sourly into the distance and broods upon his fate. All right. Upright. Victory, conquest, triumph, rulership, enforcement of authority, commanding, fruits of battle, admiration of the crowd, fame, glory, control over others. Then we have inverted. Vain, glorious display. So I guess you're vain and you're glorious. Vainglorious display. Domination, abuse of authority, exacting tribute. I don't know what that means. Consequences of defeat, inflicting humiliation, dictator, tin god, as in tin roof, tin god, petty tyrant. Interesting. Okay, now we have number 8, strength, Shoggoth, Leo. All right. And this is what it looks like. We got the Shoggoth is the creature and it's building stuff. A creature similar in form to that of an amoeba, but with the size of an elephant, raises upon its back a huge block of black stone, which it intends to fit into a place in the unfinished cyclopean wall of some vast construction resembling a fortress that has a non-Euclidean geometry. The angles of the wall are difficult to hold in the mind. The wall is being constructed on the heights of a great mountainside, so that it seems an extension of the mountain itself. The Shoggoth balances the block with its pseudopods, which extrudes for the purpose of balancing blocks. Bright sparks like stars and cloudy, ill-defined shapes are visible within the translucent depths of its amorphous bulk. On the surface of its gelatinous body can arise eyes, mouths, and ears of inhuman and primitive shape. These are not a part of its permanent appearance, but are formed and extended to serve as the sense organs of the creature as a matter of convenience to enable it to work in its environment. It makes as many or as few as it needs at any given moment. It has no feet or legs, but moves across the stones after the manner of a snail or a snake, by the undulating of its lower surface and, as it were, rolling itself forward, for in truth it has no top or bottom. Its taskmaster, one of the crinoid race of elder things that make it, hovers in the air beside the wall on the hummingbird-like beating of its pale gray membranous wings, which extend out of the grooves between the flat vertical ridges around the circumference of its barrel-shaped body, wings like curved fans that are hinged at the top and serrated at their edges. Its leathery dark gray body is dwarfed by the Shoggoth, in the way that a man is dwarfed by an elephant. From the midpoint on, it ranges between its wings, which somewhat resemble the staves of a barrel, extend appendages like arms that branch into 5 parts, each of which subdivides into 5 small tips like fingers. Each of the 5 vertical fingers has its appendage. but 4 are folded up close to the creature's body. The 5th arm of this crinoid master wields a whip that glows along its length with electrical fire. With this instrument, it lashes the Shoggoth on to greater efforts. Whipping that ass with the lightning whip. The yellowish head of this crinoid creature is shaped like a starfish and sits on a flat, thick neck of a light gray color that extends up from the tapered top of the barrel-shaped body of the being. The head is fleshy and covered all over with rainbow-hued cilia. It has at its top a slit for breathing. At the end of each point of the starfish head is a short yellow stalk with a red eye on its tip. Between the points of the head extend trumpet-shaped mouths with sharp teeth. At the tapered base of the creature's body, 5 thick gray, flexible branching appendages serve as legs, each terminating on a triangular foot. These are drawn up while the creature is in flight. The Shoggoth reacts to the agony of the whip by forming on its back multiple eye stalks that resemble those of its crinoid masters, with which it glares at the flying being that torments it. It longs to lash out with its pseudopods and kill its tormentor, which it could easily do, but the mind control of the Elder Thing restrains it. The mind control of the Elder Thing restrains it, though without possessing the power to entirely subdue its rebellious rage. Okay. Upright, indomitable spirit, harnessed force, endurance, perseverance, directed energy, refusal to surrender, defiance, passive resistance, purposefulness, valor, nobility. Inverted, brute strength, frustration, smoldering rage, resentment, potential for violence, unbridled anger, loss of control, ungovernable, lashing out, misuse of force, bullying. Okay. Moving on. What was that? Okay, this is 9. Number 9, Hermit. Ithaqua. Virgo. Ithaqua. That's Ithaqua. All right. Scoot back from my shit. Get my posture right. More ancient than the oldest trees, almost as old as the stone walls that surround her. The witch Ithaqua, I thought it was a dude. The witch Ithaqua waits and listens within the sunless cisterns beneath the ruins of the city of Irem, gathering information from dwellers in the deeps for her lord Nyarlathotep. The weight of years has bent her body and hunched her back so that at times her hooked nose almost touches the ground at her feet. Naked, save for a filthy cloak of wool that wraps around her shoulders, her gray hair hangs wild and half obscures her ancient face, which is twisted with an expression of malicious glee by whatever fire of madness burns in her heart. Her legs are bent and of no great length, but her shoulders and arms are massively muscled and of unnatural size, so that her hands are like the hands of a giant. The black nails on the ends of her fingers almost resemble claws. She sits before her fire on a ledge of rock within the great dry cistern, contemplating her face in an oval mirror of polished silver with the vanity of a young girl. Tiny black eyes glitter in the wrinkled depths of her face, and her lips writhe away from blackened, toothless gums as she mumbles obscene words lost in tongue. in a lost tongue. I'm getting dyslexic. Behind her rears a pyramid of human skulls. The skull on top is still reddened with dried blood, where its skin has been peeled away. All right. Number 9, Hermit, Ithakua, Virgo. Upright. Wisdom, secrets revealed. A teacher, discipline, study, testing, examination, asceticism. Or wait. Asceticism. Asceticism. I don't know what the fuck that means. Denial of the flesh. Mind over matter. Chastity. Commitment. Vocation. Dedication to a purpose. Self-denial. Spiritualized sexuality. Inverted. We got intolerance, fanaticism, self-abuse, narrow thinking, rigidity of belief, knowledge withheld, loss of faith, lack of guidance, vital energy squandered, ignorance. Okay. All right. Number 10. Roman numeral X. The wheel. Yog-Sothoth. Parentheses Jupiter. Just what we're looking like. Classic Yog-Sothoth possessing. Looks like Stonehenge. The night sky above the ancient megaliths of Stonehenge, is lit by the colors of the coming of the Lord of Portals, who was gatekeeper and ruler of all going in and coming out, not only in this world, but in the farthest reaches of time and space. Only his face appears in the heavens, for body he has none. And his face is an abstraction of various sizes of translucent, glowing colored spheres that intersect and turn at different rates against the backdrop of a great inverted triangle of light, so that the spheres seem to define, in some strange and misshapen way, the features of an enormous but utterly inhuman countenance that is somewhat akin to the Arik Anpin, the vast countenance of the Kabbalist. And indeed, it was Yog-Sothoth who inspired this myth. It is the face of old Shaddai, the Almighty, that none may look upon lest they be blasted by its power. The face of the god shines above a beam of light that rises from the recumbent altar stone of Stonehenge, where a naked youth has been sacrificed with a stone blade by the linen-robed high priest of the cult of Yog-Sothoth worshippers. About the face of the god, there's the beginning of a vortex that forms in the night sky as he opens the way between worlds. The stones of the circle glow with power. It's a short one. To the point. Upright. Change. Transformation. Turn of fortune. Good luck. A way opens. Moving onward. Progress. Evolution. Act of fate. Milestone. Opportunity for advancement. Inverted. Inversion of situation. Bad luck. Turn for the worse. A way closes. Obstruction. Stumbling block. Setback. Lack of progress. Changelessness. Treading water. Lost opportunity. All right. Number 11, XI. Justice. Spawn in the sphere. Libra. Spawn in the sphere. In a vaulted chamber deep beneath the earth hangs a massive cage of iron formed from the interlocking bands riveted where they overlap to form a sphere. The cage is sustained in the air in the center of the chamber by 3 iron chains that dangle from the concentric rings of ancient stones that form the inverted bowl that is the ceiling of the vault. Each link of these chains is large enough for a man to pass his hand through, could he reach it, but the iron sphere hangs higher above the flagstone floor than a tall man can reach. Flames burn in brackets around the circle of the wall, giving a good illumination of the thing that crouches within its iron prison. But the mind revolts from its alien shape at first refuses to perceive it. The cage appears to be filled only with a smoky, translucent mass, like a polished, irregular lump of rock crystal, where it possible that any crystal so large might be found in the earth. Were it possible that any crystal so large might be found in the earth. Big. It is only when the thing moves that an observer is able to notice it, and then it is perceived to be a creature of roughly humanoid shape, having a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. But there the resemblance stops. The proportions of its limbs are distorted. The arms too long, the clawed fingers of the hands too large talons like those of a hawk where its feet should be. Its head is a mass of snaky ropes or tentacles that rises from its shoulders without the support of a neck. A lot of necklace characters. Its head is as massive as that of an elephant, with a score of slender trunks that writhe like serpents. In shape, its head may be likened to the body of a deep-sea dwelling cephalopod. Each elongated side, soft and pulsing on the boneless crown, bears 3 tiny black eyes that resemble the eyes of an insect. Along its hunched back are folded great membranous wings, cruelly compressed by the iron bands of its prison, which is scarcely large enough to circumference Along its hunched back are folded great membranous wings, cruelly compressed by the iron bands of its prison, which is scarcely large enough in circumference to contain its bulk. As its shape becomes known to the mind in parts and pieces, it is perceived to be a perfect miniature copy of the warrior lord of the Old Ones, mighty Cthulhu, and can only be one of his soldier spawn created countless eons ago to fight against the Elder Things and their dead servants, the Shoggoths. Their dread servants, not dead. A few of the spawn of Cthulhu survive deep beneath the earth in caverns having no exits to the surface. For these creatures are eternal and endure without nourishment, weakened by their fast but deathless. I read that wrong, but whatever. Cut off from the mind control of their maker, who lies dreaming beneath the sea in the sunken city of Rillier. They are left to their own resources and can do no more than watch and wait and plan for the awakening of their dread lord, Cthulhu. How this spawn came to be drawn up from the bowels of the earth and imprisoned in the vault, which has but a single small archway to provide entrance to the monks who study it, remains a mystery. It is bound not merely by its massive riveted iron bands, but by potent sigils of dark necromancy upon the stones of the walls and ceiling of the vault at intervals. Were these pentacles to be effected, the iron cage would not hold the spawn of Cthulhu for an instant, but their secret power reinforces the black iron and renders it unbreakable. So has the creature hung and awaited through the centuries. The warrior monks of the monastery above the vault serve as its warders, but the monks did not bind it here, for they have no such great skill in magic. Those who built the vault and made the spawn their prisoner have passed to dust and been forgotten in time. Only the spawn remains, and it does not speak about those who bound it. Okay, upright, balanced use of force, weighing of factors, fair decision, judicious authority, necessary adjustment, a wrong righted, truth revealed, impartial hearing, inverted, a prejudiced decision, shit, tongue twist, lack of judgment, imbalance, favoritism, bribery, perversion of justice, legal delay, a decision postponed, suspension, unfair decision. All right. 12. Okay. Number 12. Hanged Man. The Well of Seraph. Water, in parentheses. I got that. It's like a dude in a well. Like the Ark of the Covenant. Some other shit going down. Let's read about it. Half buried in the silt within the depths of an ancient desert well, its walls lined with crumbling stone blocks, resides a wooden chest, sheathed all over its sides with an ornate lid with gold leaf. Rings of metallic gold project from its sides, evidently intended for the insertion of poles that would allow the chest to be carried between two men. Upon the lid of this chest crouch two golden angelic figures that face each other, their wings arching over their heads so that the wingtips nearly touch, as though to shield the chest. A strange glow fills the water, making the sides of the chest shine. From behind this golden box, a spiritual creature that is shaped like a legless dragon or serpent undulates through the glowing water around the perimeter of the well. Its insubstantial body, a column of fire. The face of the thing is human and beautiful, but so androgynous that it is difficult to tell whether it is the face of a man or a woman. It wears a serene expression of implacable judgment. It wears a serene expression of implacable judgment that is without mercy. So long is its body that the waters of the well appear filled with its form, which crosses and recrosses over its own length in a bewildering way, making it difficult to tell where it begins or ends. An Arab nomad, stripped naked to the waist and barefoot, wearing only loose cotton trousers, struggles in the deep water as the guardian of the well wraps its golden coils around his chest and limbs, raising its inhumanely beautiful face to stare into his terror-stricken eyes. Although the spiritual creature is able to hinder his movements, its body is insubstantial to his touch, and he is unable to effectively grasp it or thrust it away. From the mud at the bottom of the well project human bones, testifying that the other imprudent treasure seekers have met the fate that awaits the nomad. He gets fucked up by a fire snake. That's what's going down. Upright, suspension, waiting, need for patience, delay, willing sacrifice, trial of endurance, test of faith, mystery, inverted, abandonment, despair, involuntary suffering, frustration, opposition, hands tied, act of fate, humiliation, powerlessness, accident on water, overwhelmed. Okay. I think this is, let's see. Number 14, XIV, Temperance, Reanimators, Sagittarius. In a workshop beneath the Sphinx of Egypt, reanimators of the secret order of the Sphinx rent down the ancient mummy of a pharaoh into its essential salts in preparation for the reanimation of the corpse. A male servant in white linen skirt and leather slippers, head shaved and torso bare, gently lowers the desiccated arm of the mummy into an enormous copper kettle that rests on an iron frame over a charcoal fire in an iron fireplace on upon the floor of the chamber. The arm slides into the greenish liquid that bubbles noxiously, sending up fumes that pass out from the chamber through a vent in its stone ceiling. Other severed portions of the mummy are distinguishable, heaped in a wheeled bin from which the arm has been taken. A dark-haired female servant, robed discreetly in plain linen, uses a long wooden ladle to stir the contents of the kettle. In the background, a member of the Order of the Sphinx stands beside a wall-mounted oil torch. He is dressed to resemble Nyarlathotep, his god, in a long black robe with a hood, his features concealed behind a black silk scarf that covers his face like a caul. C-A-U-L. He holds up a cylinder of transparent green glass to the light of the torch, studying the powder that almost fills this bottle, which is sealed with a stopper of lead. Okay, upright. We've got refinement, purification, renewal, blending of opposites, health, the golden mean, harmony, perfecting of worth. Inverted, dilution, weakening, confusion, intemperance, corruption, toxicity, spoiling, fatal imperfection. Okay. Uh-oh, Cthulhu next, y'all. Alright. I'm looking mad greasy. Fuck it. $15. Devil. Cthulhu. Capricorn. Y'all already know. Cthulhu. Up in there chilling. I'm built like Cthulhu. The submerged island of Cthulhu has risen above the surface of the Southern Ocean, as it does at rare intervals when the stars in their tunings come aright. The waves wash the slime-covered, kelp-draped stone blocks of the city of Rillier, newly ascended from their watery rest. Chief among them is an enormous obelisk of black stone, as tall as a modern skyscraper, of unnatural thickness and uncouth of geometry, so that none of its angles are right angles, and it seems thicker at the sloped top than at its base. Other than lesser blocks lie scattered in the muck and ooze of the island. At first glance, disordered, but upon closer examination, the roofs of massive buildings. Near the base of the black obelisk, the bronze doors in a portal in the Near the base of the black obelisk, the bronze doors in a portal in a sloped face of a stone gape wide, as though thrown open by some massive force, emerged from the darkness within the stands of mighty Cthulhu. From within the... Oh my god, I'm fucking this up. Okay, let's just start over. Near the base of the black obelisk, the bronze doors in a portal in a sloped face of stone gape wide, as though thrown open by some massive force, emerged from the darkness within, stands mighty Cthulhu. There we go. Newly wakened from his sleep of dreaming death, the god has stepped forth from the doorway on thick legs that are as yet only partially formed, for the body of the god is not solid flesh, but composed of vapors that he gathers in from air and sea around him, giving him a gelatinous appearance of green and blue. His great clawed hand that reaches out is well shaped, as are his head and torso and folded wings. He resembles the spawn held prisoner in an iron sphere, but on a much more massive scale. The black obelisk is like a mountain, yet fails to dwarf the body of great Cthulhu. Seabirds, no more than tiny dots, circle around his tentacled head with its 6 glaring eyes, so like the eyes of a spider in their inverted and triangular patterns. In the rolling waves that wash over his striding legs, a freighter makes no haste to steam away from the island, bearing the surviving members of its crew unlucky enough to have walked on the risen Rillier. They do not dare to confront the creature of nightmare they have accidentally released by breaking the seal on the bronze doors that held him captive in his tomb. Cthulhu makes his ponderous way towards the ship, which can scarcely hope to escape before he crushes it in his grasp. In the blue of the early morning sky, risen sun. Goddamn, I'm fucking up. In the deep blue of the early morning sky, the rising sun is part of the unseen alignment of the heavens that allowed the island of sunken Rillier to rise, and Cthulhu to wake from his death-like sleep. Whew. Upright. Defiance of authority, rebellion, animal vitality, brute strength, lustfulness, personal magnetism, dominance, reckless courage, willfulness, ignorance, and pride. Inverted. Malice, resentment, betrayal, oath-breaking, anger, abuse of power, intimidation of others, bullying, deliberate cruelty, forbidden forms of sexuality, pleasure in wickedness. All right, Cthulhu. Goddamn. Oh, we're at 47. We're going to wrap this up at about the hour. Hour's about as long as I can sit in this goddamn shitty chair. Okay. 16. XVI. Tower. Great Ziggurat. Mars. The fabled Tower of Babel rises in the form of Great Ziggurat, or stepped pyramid, of 7 levels. It occupies a plain beside the river Euphrates. The ziggurat is surrounded by a great congregation of people. On the top of the ziggurat, a devotional fire burns on an altar. Richly robed priests are in the midst of conducting a ceremony that is directed at the fire, within the flames of which opens an oval portal, an occult gateway to another time and place. A vast beam of light extends upward from the fire on the altar, like the beam of a searchlight, piercing the heavens themselves, which are troubled by roiling storm clouds. Roiling. I don't know if that's supposed to be rolling, but it says roiling, like boiling. In reaction to this ascending beam, a bolt of lightning of unnatural size and strength strikes downward to split the top of Ziggurat and fracture its body with gaping fissure, so that the priests in the midst of their worship are thrown outward and burned by the flash of lightning, and begun to tumble off from its rumblings. Fire rains down on the dismayed worshippers surrounding the ziggurat, causing them to cower in terror and throw their arms up in a hopeless effort to shield themselves. It got fucked up. Upright, grand scheme, edifice, monument, ambitious plan, construction, social elevation, fame, glory, honors, great church or temple, skyscraper, mansion. Inverted, white elephant, boondoggle, whatever the fuck that means, collapse of plan, destruction of property, disaster, fire, loss due to conflict, social humiliation, infamy, dishonor, a disease. More minutes, we'll do a couple more. Number 17, XVII, Star, Ishtar, Aquarius. We got that. She looks like she's standing at that tower. She's got her dog with her. She's chilling. A beautiful young woman with long dark hair, which is set a golden diadem. Oh, what? Okay. A beautiful young woman with long dark hair, in which is set a golden diadem, bearing a single large sapphire, stands naked beneath the night sky at the margin of the river Tigris. On the far bank of the river grow tall grasses. Her bare feet leave prints in their approach through the soft mud. She strains forward and upward with one hand toward the bright star Sirius, the dog star, that shines above the river so that her slender fingers seem about to pluck the star out of the heavens. Her leading foot, upon which she balances, is partially beneath the surface of the water, but her other foot is dry upon the bank. Beside her, keeping a vigilant guard, stands a large male hunting hound, its intelligent eyes staring outward, as though it has just heard some sound with its sharp ears. It strains its lean and muscular body forward as though eager to attack. She remains oblivious to the danger, secure in the power of her protector. Rising from the horizon of the Mesopotamian plain behind her is the silhouette of a ziggurat. Above it blazes the star Venus, which is brighter than the star Sirius and lower in the sky. Venus almost appears to crown the ziggurat with its resplendent rays, even as the sapphire on her diadem crowns the lady. Other bright stars dot the heavens, but none of them can compare to these two great lights. Talking about Sirius and Venus. Upright, hope, divine gift, cleansing of the soul, renewal of purpose, destiny, guiding light, a wish granted, guardian angel. Inverted, hope delayed, a setback, minor misfortune, need for patience, reassessment, and error, a dry spell, overtaxing resources. Okay, so now we got 18 XVIII. Moon, the Hounds of Leng, Leng, Pisces. Let's see, we got two dogs now. On opposite sides of a rough path that extends through the tall grasses of the windswept plateau of Leng, two enormous dogs sit partially concealed by the grasses, waiting for a hapless traveler to pass between them. In general shape, the dogs are similar to mastiffs, having heavy shoulders and thick necks upon which are mounted blunt and massively muscled jaws filled with sharp teeth. The dogs pant and slaver in the dim morning light, which has caused a pale silver mist that wets the grasses and hangs close to the path. There is a madness in their staring eyes, as though each can scarcely restrain itself from vaulting forward to tear at the throat of unseen prey. At their feet grow toadstools, some of which show signs of having been broken off and gnawed. They eat mushrooms. The silver crescent of the waning moon hangs low in the eastern pre-dawn sky, which begins to pale near the horizon. In the air above the place on the horizon, where the path seems to lead, floats the extraordinary mirage of a great alien city. It's floating. It almost seems to rise up from the landscape, and might be mistaken for a real city if it were not so pallid and translucent. Its towering buildings are of inhuman design, strangely massive and uncouth, some of them thicker at their flat tops than at their bases, and composed of chaotic angles. Walkways that lack protective guardrails span the spaces from building to building at various levels. There is a general aura of hidden menace about this scene, as though the dangers that lie concealed in the shadows of the tall grasses may be greater than the obvious threat of the waiting wild dogs. Okay. The Moonhounds of Leng. Upright, illusion, sterility, danger on the path, hostile environment, traps, pitfalls, hidden enemies, deception, lies, concealment, need for caution. Inverted, nightmares, insanity, irrational fears, obsession, phobia, emotional chaos, brewing evil, poison, black magic, slanders, and hatred. Okay. Try to keep it around an hour. Yeah, we're almost at 20, so we'll go through 20. 19, XIX, the sun, the empty space, in parentheses, sun. The pitiless sun blazes down with unending fury upon the rolling sand dunes of the vast desert known as the empty space. Each pale pink dune is like a great frozen wave of sand that towers 40 feet or more. Rising heat makes the air above the dunes shimmer and gives them a wet appearance. Along the slope of one of the dunes whirls the column of a dust devil. It undulates into the sky, carrying streamers of dust and sand with it. Low hills of reddish stone line the horizon. Within the body of the dust devil, an inhuman face is dimly visible. The face is difficult to perceive in the ever-changing column of sand because its parts are insubstantial and disassociated from each other. The widely separated eyes tilt at unnatural angles. The mouth gapes as though screaming. Perhaps the face expresses the chaotic identity of the whirlwind itself, or perhaps it is the tortured soul of some unfortunate traveler on the desert who has been caught up in its turnings. The tiny figure of a lone rider on a camel is visible, galloping away from the dust devil. The rider wears the garb of a Bedouin. He turns to look over his shoulder as he lashes the rump of the camel with his whip. It is uncertain whether he will escape its pursuit. The parts of the face within its tuning column, I imagine it's turning column. The parts of the face within its turning column regard him with hunger. In the distance is a green oasis of palm trees and sparkling water, the safe haven of the harried desert nomad, should he be able to reach it in time. Upright, higher power, natural law, vital warmth, revelation, clarity, greatness, purification, self-awareness, essential truth, the center, heart of the matter, stripping away shadows, something of value, wealth. Inverted, burning of superfluous material, withering away of excess, pitiless exposure of essentials, crisis of personal identity, a force of nature, impersonal ordeal, period of difficulties. Okay, we're gonna do the last one here. Number 20, XX, Judgment, Guardian of Eden, Fire. Okay. A brook runs between deep banks through a grassy meadow. On each side of the brook are low rounded hills rising like the breasts of the earth. On the crests of the low hill on the left side of the stream stand the naked skeleton of a great tree that has been dead for so long its wooden bones are bare of bark and show their withered whiteness. On the crest of the opposite hill grows a flourishing tree covered with green leaves, the boughs of which hang heavy with ripe red fruit that resemble rounded pears. Spanning the brook is an arched stone bridge with low walls. Built into the middle of the bridge, there is an elaborate stone seat with a high carved back that faces the same direction as the flow of the stream, so that anyone who sits upon the seat finds himself looking across the bridge toward the east. The back interior of the seat has a strange, Medusa-like face carved into it that has only a single eye in the center of its forehead. The eye is represented by an unfaceted ruby the size of an egg that glows red when struck by the morning sunlight. Above the brook, the blue sky of day is rent or torn like a sheet, so that the stars of night shine through the gap. Okay, the sky is torn open. Which is just given passage to a terrifying angelic being that has the face and body of a beautiful woman. In her forehead, there's only a single enormous eye that has a uniform blackness over its surface. Her lips writhe away from her teeth in an expression of fury. Her hair radiates around her head in 1,000 translucent rainbow streamers that seem to float on the air the way seaweed floats on the currents of the ocean. From her body, 1,000 translucent arms extend like serpents, all spreading out into the halo around her that half fills the heavens. Droplets of fire rain from these innumerable appendages. They fall from the sky and ignite the grass of the meadow wherever they touch it. A naked man on the left side of the brook tries to ward off the rain of fire. The expression on his upturned face, a mingling of dismay and anguish. He reaches out toward a naked woman on the opposite bank who cowers to cover her nude body while shielding her head with her hands from the burning droplets of flame. Upright. Reward for honor. Favorable ruling. Acquittal. Proof of innocence, just deserts, impartial decision, elevation of rank or status, restoration, wrong righted. Inverted, punishment for dishonor, wrath of higher power, retribution, reaping what was sowed, eye for an eye, finding of guilt, harsh justice, full penalty assessed. All right. Just over an hour. I think that's good for now. You're on number 20, Judgment, Garden of Eden. We'll be going on to 21, World, Yig, Saturn. Saturn next. Little preview. Ooh, snake on an egg. All right, peace.